Welcome to the MYBcast, a podcast series devoted to exploring alternatives for self-care through somatic touch therapies of all sorts. We are fascinated with the mind-body connection, and so are the people that we talk with. Today, we're continuing our series, Portraits of the Pioneers. Portraits offers an in-depth look at those who have been actively involved in the exploration, development, and practice of somatic touch therapy since its early inception. I'm Anna Marie Bowers, and I'm here with my co-host, Richard Mack. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning, Anna Marie. I'm happy to be here.
Today, we're excited to talk with our guest, Jack Lisken. Welcome, Jack. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Let's start today's series with your story, Jack. And the general question for you is, what brought you into the somatic touch world?
Well, it wasn't exactly kicking and screaming, but it was kind of an odd way. I had started to study voice, got vocal training, and my teacher, wonderful man, recognized that I had carried a tremendous amount of tension in my body and sent me to a friend of his who was a conductor but also practiced Reiki. And that was my very first experience of hands-on body work, other than when I was a child and my mother would rub my back, which I loved so much I never wanted her to stop. Anyway, several months after experiencing Reiki, my wife and I were on a little mini vacation up in Santa Barbara, and we looked at the local paper, and that particular weekend, there was a long article about different bodywork modalities in the Santa Barbara area. So I kind of riffled through them, and there was one there that was called Trager, and there was a brief description. I kind of liked the description, and it mentioned the name of the practitioner who was there in Santa Barbara. And just on the whim, since we were on a relaxing weekend, I called her to see if she had time to work on my wife and I. And she did. We went to see her, and I had never experienced anything like that. It was only the second time I had had hands-on work done, but this was so astounding to me in the way that it made my body relax and feel comfortable and at ease. It was nothing I had ever experienced before. So that was my first experience with Trager. And then several months later, my work was at the School of Medicine at University of Southern California, where I directed the physician assistant program. It occurred to me that, I would really like to do some hands-on work myself. I always felt my hands were always sort of an important part of of myself for some reason, and I felt like I could really enjoy working with my hands in that way, and in a way that would be beneficial to people. And so that's what got me started. I contacted the person, Carla, who had given me our first Traeger session. She told me how to get in touch with a local practitioner, and I embarked on the training in that way. And so that's how I got started.
Could you, Carla, do you remember her last name?
Carla Montano.
Oh, yeah, we know Carla. Yeah, she does a lot of work with animals.
Yeah, and I didn't realize until much later that she had a child who had physical problems, and I think maybe that was her entree into the Traeger world. But she had a wonderful touch.
Wonderful, wonderful. I didn't realize that she went that far back. I mean, I'm familiar with her on helping post some of her work with the work that she's done with animals on social media and on various channels. I think she may even be in the foundation's website with some of her work, if I'm not mistaken.
Huh, huh.
So that's exciting. So that was an interesting beginning. And then
Yeah.
what happened?
Well, then, me being me, I wanted to uh, get taught by Milton. But at the
Mhm.
time, you had to be sort of advanced in your training in order to be able to um, have a class with him. So, I my style is to push, or was anyway, to push, and so I kept pushing until I was able to get that to happen, and so I was able to attend a class. I can't even remember now if it was as a student or as a observer, but I was able to find a class with him, and he took an interest in me because I was at. Maybe there were other reasons, but because I was at a medical school, I was working at a medical school, and he very much wanted his work to have medical applications. And so he took an interest in me and kind of, uh, I don't know what the word is exactly, but he he wanted me involved. He liked it that I was involved, and he wanted me involved. And I was more than happy uh, to be involved and to get closer to him.
Is
Marriage
that
made
when
in
some of
heaven.
those, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Anna Marie.
I was going to say, is that when some of those interviews, those early interviews with Milton started happening?
No, not that was not until much later.
Okay.
We had gotten close. I was visiting with Milton and Emily in Mission Viejo at their place, and I had at that time coming up a sabbatical, which I intended to. I had some plan for my sabbatical, but I thought about it, and I knew that they had their Emily had taken notes. They had planned to write a book about their work early and on, as she had taken a bunch of notes, and one of the people that he worked on was a writer, screenwriter, and
Mhm.
novelist, and he had started a book about Milton, but neither of them had ever finished it. And so it occurred to me that this could be an interesting project. So I asked Milton, these books never got completed. How about if I took a crack at it? And and Milton said, basically said, okay. you know, he was not enthusiastic, but he wasn't against it either. So he just gave his approval. And since I had a 6 month sabbatical coming up, I decided to devote that time to writing a book about Milton and his work. And that's when I started doing interviews, although that was challenging because he had already had a stroke. He didn't like to talk that much to begin with. And so I had hoped to sit down and have all these expansive interviews with him. And that really didn't happen. And I had to go for other ways of getting the information and pulling it together and making a book out of it.
Got it.
So the book that you're referring to is Moving Medicine,
Yeah, right.
and that's the book that I'm showing up right here with, and it's Moving Medicine: The Life and Work of Milton Trager, M.D. by Jack Lisken, and you've got a beautiful forward in here by Dean Juhan and also Betty Fuller. I would love, love, love to hear about the process because there's been rumors about the editorial process of this book and the hoops that they made you jump through in order to let this book come out. So here it is, Jack. It's your opportunity to share what happened.
No, no, no. I don't usually let people interfere with what I'm doing. So the book was written by me, edited by me, and I remember, I think when we talked earlier, Richard, we talked about Betty Fuller, and I went and interviewed her. And in the process, I interviewed as many people as I could, and of course, she was instrumental at the beginning. And I remember she had this phrase that she thought was really, she really loved this phrase, which was new at the time, which was, he went ballistic. She loved that. That's become a cliche now. Well, I didn't put that in the book. No, people don't interfere with my writing when I'm writing. So the book was written by me, edited by me. Nobody had really a say in what was going to be in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was it like actually delving more deeply into the work yourself during all of this time that you were spending? Were you still practicing at that time?
Yeah, and so I went through all the classes and got my practitioner certification. And although I'm not an easy student, I don't learn easily from other people. I have to sort of do everything, learn for myself. So, but I had really good tutors who were able to work with me, even though I was kind of a rough student to handle. And so, yeah, well, that was kind of the interesting part of it. And I don't know if you wanted to touch upon that later, but we can wait till later if you like. But I was at USC, I was directing the physician assistant program, which was in the Department of Family Medicine. So I was gaining practice. I was seeing people and, as a practitioner, but really just in a learning mode. But our department, the School of Medicine at USC had just had a hospital built, and they were wanting all the departments to develop medical practices. And so my department, family medicine, began a practice. And it occurred to me, since I was there, that maybe I could introduce Trager practice into the Department of Family Medicine in their clinical facility. And so I approached our department chair. He wanted me to make a presentation to the department faculty about what it is that I wanted to do. And that was challenging because, as you know, sometimes Traeger work can be hard to describe in words. And so I did the best that I could, but it was mostly the fact that I was already on the faculty there. I was running a program. People trusted me, and they gave me the go ahead and establish the practice. So, they were they had a facility in a medical office building that was on campus next to the hospital, and they were going to have me be in one of their rooms. Well, their rooms, was the tables there were just, when you go into a medical office, there's
Yes.
the small table with a paper sheet. And yes. I said, no, 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 I can't, no, 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 I can't do my work that way. And so we had to find a room for me, and I brought in a table. And even that was, there was a bunch of equipment piled in there. It really was not the right thing. And ultimately, I approached the physical therapy people who had a larger facility and had a booth that I could set up with a regular massage table and use. And so I started seeing patients there in first at family medicine and then with physical therapy, but as part of the family medicine practice.
That's exciting. That's exciting. What years are we talking?
So this would be in the, when was it? I guess it was in the 80s, early 80s. And, um, or maybe middle 80s. I don't remember the exact date.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, initially some of the people, I got referrals from uh, family medicine faculty and the staff, and some of the doctors came to see me. They wanted to experience the work. But then I started approaching other departments and talking to them about the work and seeing if seeing if they would send me patients. And I got good responses from the Department of Neurology. There was a specialist there in Parkinson's disease and movement disorders, started sending me patients, and another neurologist who sent me patients for chronic headache and other problems like that. And the physical therapist started sending me people as well. So that's how I developed my practice there.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I'm fascinated by that very beginning because it's interesting. Back then, nobody was really talking about the mind-body connection. And it wasn't really until the book The Body Keeps the Score went viral on the New York Times bestseller list that people started to associate the world around the mind body and Thomas Hanna's explanation of the somatic approach and somatic therapy, that this all started to come together. But you were doing this 40 years before that. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, it was where I was. I had the opportunity. It was, completely novel. There was nothing like that at the School of Medicine. Uh, uh, so, but one of the doctors, I knew the other doctor said, "Oh, okay, go ahead, do it. All right, you want to do it? Go ahead." But one of the doctors in family medicine was very sweet about it. I told him that I was going to do it, and he said, "Well, if anybody can do it, you can." And so he was just being encouraging, but it was a great encouragement. And so I had to develop it. I had to figure out how to bill for it, finding the codes in the, medical practice that were roughly similar to what I was doing so that I could bill for it and had to do my charting in a way that, was sort of medically oriented, that made sense medically, but was also true to the work. And so it worked. It worked out.
That means that you also had to come up with language around what you were actually doing with the client on the table,
That's
which
right.
you were probably pioneering doing that in the Traeger community.
Yeah, I'd have to look back and see what my notes looked like because I don't even remember how I did it. But I massaged the language to make it work.
Yeah, yeah. It's difficult to do that in a medical model and not lose the verbiage that's really around what the work really is about. Like you don't want to start describing Traeger work or any of these somatic professions in medical terminology, but you almost have to translate for the medical community what words the Traeger community uses. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. That's what I did.
Yeah,
So, because you have to, if you're running a medical practice, you have to get paid. Uh,
right.
yeah. So it worked out. I was never challenged by any of the insurance companies about what I was doing, and I was able to pretty much do the practice as I saw fit and have people come back and as much as they needed to.
Now that's fascinating. We have a clinic in northern Jersey, right outside of Manhattan, which is Mind Your Body, which is the sponsor of the show. Um, we do some insurance work as well, but it's different. It's not all insurance companies that will honor this. We are using the codes that are accepted in the insurance realm, and if you happen to have a policy that is going to take you into preventive medicine, which is usually what this is going to be covered under, um, most people are having to do this work out of pocket, which is it's been a hindrance for this work really to expand because obviously people got to put food on the table and other things in life that take away from it. But the idea of having this work be recognized as therapeutic and beneficial is something that we're hoping will happen more openly. And
Yeah.
Did you find other physicians were receptive, especially after they received the work?
Yeah, I had, yeah, they were. And, the Parkinson's disease specialist, she got feedback from the patients that she sent me. And so she was, yeah, she was happy about it. Another neurologist sent his wife and other people, along with other patients. And so they were getting feedback enough to want to send me more people. And so, yeah, so it was working for them.
How about yourself? Did you get some work during all this time for yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I was getting work regularly, and I needed it. And yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's always important to talk about the self-care aspect of some of these things too, what we do to take care of ourselves in the midst of all of this.
Yeah, yeah, it was important to me because prior to Traeger work, I, was very much a kind of hard driving person and didn't really know what it felt like to be at ease, and and so it was good to be able to teach some of that to other people and and have them benefit from it. Yeah, it was very gratifying. I mean, that became much more important to me than the work that I was doing running the physician assistant program.
Yeah,
and when you were running that program, basically, what did that entail? Because my question to you, which will probably be the last question of this particular episode, is that you walk into Carla's room, she's got a table, you experience something that obviously was life-changing for you, and your your world in the academian world was working with physicians at the university level. That's an interesting blend of things coming together. Um, I'm fascinated by that, and I'm open to hearing whatever what you could say that basically made that connection for you.
Well, I'm in the habit of using what I have to to whatever that is, and so I do make connections in that way. If somebody is wanting to do something, and I know somebody that can be you know, of help in that, I'm sort of good at putting those two things together. So, it was important to me on a personal level. I had benefited from it. Here was where I was at. There was a clinical practice going on. So to me, it made sense to just put those together. I thought, this work has applications in medicine. And so that was my feeling about it. And I thought, okay, here's an opportunity to make that happen, to show the benefits and to do the work in a way that is true to the true to Milton's ideas, but also medically applicable. And of course, that was his interest as well. So it was just me combining things and taking advantage of the opportunity of being where I was and having the status to be able to do something that, to create something that people would allow me to do because of they already trusted me and knew that I was good at what I did.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. And as far as I can tell, I haven't heard anybody that has been able to do what you did.
Yeah, well, I was in that setting, so that allowed me to do it. So, I mean, first you have to have the interest, and then you have
Yep.
to, and
Be
then
there.
take it to where you are. So there have to be people in medical settings who are certified in one or another capacity who can do this if they see a way, see a way to apply it.
Fascinating. Fascinating. I just have one more question and then we'll have to wrap up this particular episode. What was it like to work with Milton?
Well, um, to be work with in what way? You mean to be worked on by him or to be with him?
Being
Uh,
being in the presence of Milton Trager, being in his class, and if you're fortunate enough to be on the table to be touched by him, you got 5 minutes to just to share with us because neither one, I have never experienced it. I think Anna Marie, you might have.
oh, right.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I tend to forget that. Well, he was completely unique. He could sense everything that was going on. So, here I am. I'm nervous. Here I am in his presence, and he would give me a look, and somehow he made it clear that he got me. He got me and got to me when it came time to be on the table. He watched me walk, and he said, you know, there's a there's something that's driving you. And as I mentioned before, I was a kind of a driven person, and he saw it in the way that I walked. Something is driving you, which is um, a way of uh, saying a lot, because it says not only that you're pushing too hard, but something is pushing you. You're not the one, you know, you're not the agent, and there's something is pushing you. You're not the one in charge, even though you think you're in charge. So that was very interesting to me. When I was on the table, he uh, he just put his hand on my chest. That was it. It was just to introduce the possibility of something different. I thought he was going to do this, that, and the other thing. No, he just put his hand on my chest and held it there, and that was it. So, because he had already had his stroke at that time, he was physically diminished. For some reason, my way of doing things, I kind of took it on myself to, since he wanted me involved with him, to kind of protect him, watch him, stand by him, make sure that he was taken care of, and didn't have slip or lose his balance or anything. So I became kind of a, you know, his soldier or bodyguard or something like that. And I think Emily saw that, and she must have liked that, because she saw, here's someone who cares enough about him to take care of him, and which she did a lot of. And so, yeah, I relished any moment of being with him because of just what he emanated, the power, the soft power, and understanding and learning that he had developed over so many decades. It was just lovely to be in his presence.
And I think he really truly was someone who mastered presence
Yeah, that's right.
and and truly genuinely just accepted people for who they were in
Uh,
the moment, in the moment,
yeah,
in the moment.
yeah. And he was a showman. You
Yes,
know,
he was.
he was a showman. He knew how to entertain a crowd, and
Right,
he had that kind of presence also,
right.
which was part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is about the time we need to take a pause from the series here and end episode 1. So thank you, Jack. And for those who are watching, we encourage you to come back for episode 2.